Welcome to Kaiser Watch with John Kaiser. I'm your host, Jim Goddard. Welcome back to the show.
Jim,
comments made on Kaiser Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as a recommendation to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at kaiserresearch.com.
Busy couple of weeks right now.
John, NioBay Metals put out a negative-sounding news release about its Crevier niobium project, and yet the stock went up. What's going on there?
Well, Jim, that was February 13th, and I'm busy enjoying my vacation, and I get this press release show up on my computer, and I'm going, uh-oh, this does not sound good. They had drilled a dozen holes or so on the Crevier project last year, and they were expecting initial results before Christmas. And Jean-Sébastien David is quite optimistic that what they have found to the west of the main zone, which is a late-stage cyanide dike within an overall alkaline intrusive complex, under Lac Tulati, they've encountered long intervals bottoming in carbonatite that has pyrochlore crystals in it, and that's niobium, the main niobium crystals, and the hope is that they have something substantially bigger than the dike. That's been the focus since 1975. Its grade is only about 200 ppm, so that's not particularly a good grade, but the hope is that the carbonatite is similar to the NioBay mine, which is a world-class niobium deposit. Not as world-class as Araxá in Brazil, but it is a profitable niobium mine. And the press release said that they were disappointed with the delays in the results. Apparently, they got some the week before, and while they were looking at them, doing all their QAC stuff to make sure everything makes sense, they started to realize that the assays were all over the map. Some were extraordinarily high, some were extraordinarily low, and it did not match the crystals in the photos that they had taken, and they realized something is going on, but they didn't really make that clear in the press release. The press release said that, well, we're suffering delays and we've sent them back to be redone. And I said, oh, that sounds like you got some visible gold in your core and you're all excited about the grades, and then you get really dud results and you can't believe that it's true, so you send them back to be checked, and usually they come back just as bad. So, and in the same press release, they talked about staking lithium claims to the northwest of the Crevier project, and it says, oh, this sounds like bait and switch. And of course, the James Bay project, for which a PEA has already been done, that's about 40 kilometers south of Moosonee in Ontario's James Bay lowlands. They supposedly were going to have meetings up there, and there was no real mention of that. So I ended up taking a break from my vacation to call up and find out what's all going on. And with regard to the assays, something seems to have gone wrong at the assay labs, and it's legitimate. The results don't make sense. Some glitch happened, and they're having it redone. And this is the assay lab that has processed over 1 million meters of core that Osisko Mining drilled at its Windfall project. So this is an important client of the Osisko group. And they've also sent some core off to another assay lab that they had used for James Bay, for which they had reliable results. And this sort of just as a test to make sure that when they do get the updated results, it all makes sense. They hope to have it out by PDAC, where they have a booth. And they're also going to, JS also said he did go to Moosonee and did have meetings, and there's going to be more meetings, and there is hope that the Ontario government is getting more involved, because it's got all this talk about critical minerals, but they need to get all the stakeholders on side and make sure that it's a win-win for everybody, and that these policy goals of having EV replacing ICE cars by 2035, if there's going to be any reality to it, there does need to be lot more lithium supply coming, and Quebec and Ontario are excellent places to come up with this lithium supply, as well as other critical minerals such as niobium, which to a large degree the world depends on three major mines. One a super mine, two of them are in Brazil, the other one is in Quebec. So there is hope that everybody will come around at the PDAC meeting. And interestingly, the PDAC meeting every year is full of government agencies who are talking about the ESG topics and urging the mining company, you need to do a better job out there. You are a disgrace. You're harming the environment. You're digging big holes. You need to not really do that. I think the shoe will be on the other foot this year. I think the mining companies will be asking the government agencies, what can you do to help us find and develop new mines so that your policy goals can become reality and not just a bunch of blah, blah, blah that's going to leave everybody with a climate a lot hotter than it is now, because there just won't be enough materials such as copper and lithium to make all these policy goals reality. As far as the lithium claims are concerned, J.S. David has worked in that area before, researched the old SOQUEM data, and realized that in this area, in this Lac Saint Jean region, there have been documented pegmatites, and this is very good infrastructure area, unlike in James Bay where everything is quite remote. So they've gone out there and done some strategic staking just because it's in their backyard, and they have good relationships with all the local stakeholders near the Crevier project, and that also puts them into the lithium game in addition to the niobium game. So hopefully they get assays confirming that Lac Tulare to the west of the main cyanide niobium zone is indeed 0.4% niobium pentoxide or higher, and that it's relatively consistent, so that they do have a major new discovery. It's a reason I made NioBay Metals a 2023 favorite. And as a result of the company having to explain to everybody what the problem was, people started to realize, oh, they're actually expecting good results for this. And they also would hear, well, okay, there may be progress happening on the James Bay front. And of course, so you've got some lithium pegmatite in your backyard that you've managed to sort out. Well, all of a sudden, instead of this waiting forever for the Moose Cree First Nation to decide that they do want to mine in their backyard and fooling around with the project, the Crevier project, where the grade is really too low to be turned into a mine, you're potentially sitting on a major discovery. The James Bay project may be back on track, and you're also exploring for lithium in your backyard. So that's why the stock, rather than dropping from 17 cents back to 10 cents, is now 23, 24 cents, and people are bidding it higher, seeing if they can get a position ahead of what hopefully confirms that at Crevier they have a major new niobium discovery.
Lithium producers and developers retreated during the past week. What does this mean for Lithium Mania 2.0?
Now, Lithium Mania 2.0 is my term for the project of coming up with the second half of the 600% projected supply expansion for lithium needed to make the 2030 electric vehicle goals a reality. And these were numbers that the International Energy Association came up with in January, and they showed that from a sort of a base of 100,000 tons of lithium metal supply in 2021, it needs to grow 600%. That's up to 700,000 tons over the next seven years. And the lithium carbonate price, it was in that $30-$35 per pound range all of last year, which meant that the 2022 supply of about 130,000 tons of lithium metal equivalent estimated by the USGS, that had a $50 billion value. Now, the big producers were locked into lower price contracts, so the actual value was not that high. And last year, the companies all started expanding their operations now that lithium carbonate had gone up tenfold from below $3 a pound to $35 a pound. So the supply-demand imbalance that emerged as the car makers really started getting serious about electric vehicles, that has started to reverse again. And other advanced projects, they raised a lot of money in 2021, late 2021 and 2022 in response to the rising lithium carbonate price and all the buzz showing that the car makers have gone beyond the point of no return. And so there is new supply coming on. And the lithium carbonate price has dropped, the spot price has dropped below $30 a pound. The big Chinese battery makers are all trying to talk the price down. The Wall Street firms, of course, they can see a big M&A window coming up, so they're trying to talk everything down. So on Friday, we started seeing all the big producers like Albemarle start to get whacked in the market and retreat. And the problem is, they can't expand their production overnight quickly, but what they will see as lower lithium carbonate prices emerge, they will see their revenues decline and their profit margins shrink. And at some point, that will stop, and we'll likely see lithium carbonate stabilize in the $10 to $15 a pound range. It has to stop in that range, because if it sinks back down to $3 a pound, as it did in 2018, then you're not going to see the lithium supply develop, because the ugly truth that everybody's starting to understand is that to mobilize new mineral supply, it's currently taking 6 to 10 years working through the permitting and the construction and commissioning. And with regard to this 600% demand expansion expected, a lot of that still has to be found. So Lithium Mania 2.0 is about now, over the next 3 years, figuring out where all these lithium-enriched pegmatites are located, which ones are the best ones to develop, have the best sort of crystal grain structure to boost recoveries. And then by 2025, 26, we'll start seeing the economic studies kick in and the permitting and all that. And what's happening with the lithium carbonate price is actually good. It doesn't need to be at $35 a pound, but that helped out the big producers who were able to, in some cases, even sell material at these prices. So these are two different worlds, and it hasn't stopped the Australians from jumping into the Canadian Lithium Mania 2.0 pegmatite hunt, and also in other parts of the world. But it is keeping the Canadian audiences on the sidelines scratching their head, saying, all this negative buzz about lithium producers going down in price and the lithium carbonate price going down. There's still a massive ignorance amongst Canadian investors about what is going on in the lithium space. And I see it amongst my peers. Very few of them have embraced the lithium story as part of the stocks that they are picking. In fact, at the Metals Investor Forum coming on March 3rd and 4th in Toronto, my session will be on Saturday afternoon, March 4th. I'm the only company with lithium companies or with lithium exposure in my session. Everybody else is still peddling silver stocks or gold stocks or something else. So this is Lithium Mania 2.0 is still in the awakening stage, and I'm hopeful that during PDAC there will be a much greater understanding of what is happening with the lithium space, which is going to become a $100 to $200 billion a year market by 2030, and it will be led by juniors out of Australia that have become producers, and emerging juniors which are now exploring for it, which will either be acquired by these bigger producers that are former juniors, or end up becoming their own new producers. And eventually, the big companies will acquire these lithium producers so that they have a piece of this $100 to $200 billion future market.
Why is Brunswick Exploration trending higher even though they're in the midst of a financing?
A lot of people were asking that question this week, because when the the big lithium producers retreated last Friday, and people like Kathy Wood started saying, "Oh yeah, lithium price is going down. That's going to be good for Tesla." But I don't think that's Tesla's. That's going to make any difference for Tesla. Tesla's problem is that it's seriously overpriced as a car maker. It's not going to inherit the entire electric vehicle market. So she's just talking her book and hoping that lower lithium prices will help out. Will help out her Tesla stock by having the input costs reduced. But companies like Tesla, they're actually starting to get serious about securing their upstream supply of lithium, because they can't afford to have to rely on a spot market. We might even see Tesla buy out a company. This would be a first, a manufacturer owning the raw material source, which has been anathema to them because they've all been trained to hate mining, to be against it. It's a horrible thing. It harms the environment. Now, in their effort to save the environment, they're realizing we have to be part of securing these raw materials. So Brunswick Exploration this week, and it's in the midst of a financing that was announced last week. It's trending up after initially retreating last week, and they have now raised about $9.5 million. $7.5 million of that is through a Red Cloud bot deal, which includes the over-allotment. That the book is now closed. They're just doing the final wrap-up of this financing. It should close next week. And there's another $2 million done in non-brokered, which is going to a few retail people and also to Quebec institutions who take a little bit longer to fill out all the paperwork and get this done. So Brunswick will have $16 million worth of $60 million working capital heading into the exploration season. We're still waiting for official word that they have the permits to start drilling in Quebec at the Anna-Takao target, which is a projection of the CYR pegmatite system that Allkem is developing, and also the Hearst drilling in Ontario, where they're also waiting for the permit. But one of the things that we talked about a couple of weeks ago was that Patriot Battery Metals, which was the leader for the whole James Bay region, its tone is now being set by Australian money. The Australians are setting the tone, and what happens on the Canadian market is really just a reflection of what happened earlier in the day while the Australian market is open. In terms of the James Bay Great Canadian Area play, Brunswick Exploration is now emerging as the leader of it. And the Australians aren't yet into Brunswick Exploration, which will probably have more of a European and American following in addition to the Canadian following. So the strength this week is due to the realization that this company is well-financed, has many projects that it will be advancing and drilling over the next couple of years, and has the highest chance of coming up with something that's worth billions of dollars, that's worth being put into production. And even though they haven't announced that the financing is closed, you can't buy any more of this financing because everything's allotted and they're just waiting for the money to come in. So those who missed on that financing opportunity, they're now in the market buying. And strange as it may seem, the TSX Venture has this top 10 companies in terms of performance. It managed to list the Brunswick Exploration as a top 10 company. And while that shouldn't mean anything, apparently it does mean a lot with Canadian observers. So Killian Charles was telling me that all of a sudden their sign-ups of people wanting to be on the email list have gone up through the roof, and calls being coming in for more information. So it's starting to happen. Canadians are starting to wake up to the Lithium Mania 2.0, to the James Bay Great Canadian Area play in particular. And I've just added all the PDAC exhibitors to Kaiser Research. With the search engine, you can tag the PDAC exhibitors and get the whole list of them. And 47 of them right now have exposure to lithium as a target metal, and a dozen of them have exposure to the James Bay region. So it'll be interesting to see what the buzz at PDAC is, if it ends up being Lithium Mania 2.0 or something else. I have a suspicion it will be about lithium and also the bigger critical minerals topic, which the Canadian government and the U.S. government, they're starting to wake up that this is something where they need to play a proactive role, not an obstructive role, and hopefully we'll see that big change happen in this year in Toronto at PDAC.
John, thank you so much for the update.
You're welcome, Jim.
I'm Jim Goddard. Comments made on Kaiser Watch are an expression of opinion only and should not be construed in any manner whatsoever as a recommendation to buy or sell any financial instrument at any time. Archived online at kaiserresearch.com.